Okay, today we are doing balancing chemical equations. This is the first video of your first lecture for the unit chemical reaction, and Khan needs to stop that. Okay, describing chemical equations. We have reactants and we have products. Reactants will always be on the left, products will always be on the right. Represented by what this is called a yield sign. When I say this reactant yields these products, it's like an equal sign. For instance, iron plus oxygen yields iron 3 oxide. Remember from the previous units that the 3 represents the +3 charge of iron. And it's represented by symbols too. It can be written like this or like this. You see them in various forms. Okay, symbols used in chemical equations. The plus sign used to separate reactants or products to know that it's this plus this. Yields means separate reactants and they produce products. When we have the double arrow, that means that it's reversible. So the reaction can actually happen from this left to right, but then it can also go back from right to left. So it is reversible. When there's an S at the bottom right corner, that means it's a solid in parentheses. When there's an L in parentheses, that means there's a liquid in it. When there's a G in parentheses, that means it is grams. When there is a Q in parentheses, that means it is aqueous. Aqueous is not liquid. That's a very common misconception. When we have a little triangle above the yield sign, that indicates that heat is supplied to make the reaction go. When there is a PT at the top of the arrow, the formula written above the yield sign indicates the use of a catalyst. Where all my catalyst is at the beginning, it's to initiate the reaction. It helps initiate the reaction. Now, what balancing equations are, we have to make sure we obey the law of conservation of matter, which means we cannot lose or gain matter. So the left has to equal the right. For instance, the 2Li over here equals the 2Li over here, which equals the 4. So you have 2 here. 2 times 1 is 2, so that equals 4. Then the 2 times 1 equals 2 oxygens. Over here we have the 2 times 1, which equals the 2 oxygen. These are called coefficients. Those are called subscripts. Only the blank may change when balancing equation. Write this answer down in your note. Only the coefficient can change. That's number 1. Make sure to write that down. Only the coefficient may change. That is what you will hand in. Laws of conservation of mass that I taught, the mass of products must equal the mass of the reactants. A chemical equation is balanced when the equation shows an equal number of atoms for each element on both sides. How many of each atom are in the following? NaOH, there's 1 Na, 1 O, 1 H. There's 1 calcium, there's 2 times 1 oxygen, so it's 2 oxygens. 2 times 1 hydrogen, which equals 2 hydrogen. So 1, 2, 2. Here now we have 3 calciums because the 3 is out in front. This 3, 2 times 1 is 2 times 3, which equals 6 oxygens and 6 hydrogens. You go 2 times 1 times 3. Okay, so let's practice some. If we have it set up so we have 2 oxygens over here, so let's try to go ahead and put a 2 here. That means we have 2 magnesium over here, 2 oxygens over here, 2 over here, so put a 1 there. 1 times 2 is 2. And then place in 2 over here. 2 times 1 is 2. It is balanced. This equals these, so we obey the laws. More complicated one. Okay, by looking at this, I know I have 10 oxygens over here, 4 phosphorus over here, 4 over here, so these 2 equal, oxygen is 2. Oh, look! If I just take 2 divided by 10, what is that? 5. So I just place a 5 here, 1, 1. I have 4 phosphorus, 5 times 2 is 10, 1 times 10 is 10. My reactants number of atoms equal my number of atoms of my products, which means I am equal. Okay, let's go to this. This one, we have to play around a little more. I know I have 3 oxygens over here, 2 mercuries. So, I'm just looking. I know that it's showing have to be an even number, not an odd one, because this has a 2 over here. So what I would do is I would start with 6 over here. And to get 6 mercuries on this side, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now how many oxygens do I have? I have 3, 4, 5, and I have 6 over there. That doesn't seem right, so I have to start over. This is a lot of trial and error. Yes, Con?
Can I answer it?
What do you think it is?
Oh, it's 2 Hg2O plus 1 O2 equals 4 Hg.
2 times 1 yields 4. And that equals. It's playing around with numbers. This is like a big puzzle. Go ahead and write this one down and turn it in part of your notes. That's number 2. Write this down, number 2. Okay, look how lengthy this is. We have to play around with it maybe. We'll figure this out. We have 1 lithium, 2 hydrogens, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, 1 oxygen. Oh, we have an extra oxygen. So what do we need to do? We need to go ahead and figure out what we need. We have 3 over here, 2 over here. So we need to make I'm going to go ahead and try to make 6. But then that gives me an odd. I'm just looking. If I do 4, that gives me 6, 8. So if I do a 4, 2, 4, how many do I have? I have 4 over here, 4 over here, 8 over here, 4, 8, 4, 4. However, you notice how I can divide? Like in math, how you have the same, you can divide by it. So just take 2 divided by everything. So that will equal 2, 2, 1, 2. So 2 coefficient, 2 coefficient, 1 coefficient, 2. Because you can divide if they're all divisible by the lowest one.